We're going to see where this call goes. It could be one of our best calls ever because we're going to go deep here. So, Jeff.
Hey.
We all know Jeff Guillot. He is the head of audiobooks at Scribe Media. And I went really easy on Jeff last time. I asked him proper professional questions. And well, okay, most of the time I was well behaved. But on this call, all bets are off. So I want the good stuff. And I did warn you because, full disclosure, Jeff is going to come back at some point and we're going to talk about daring things because my new thing is pushing people beyond their boundaries. And I'd love to unpack what that means. And I'd also like to unpack what that means with audio. Like, do you think people can go too far and make mistakes? Do you think people can make a first impression on you, Jeff? And you know how they say a first impression lasts forever? I'm hoping that's not true. I really do. What do you think? Tell us.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy into that first impression thing, or maybe I'm not like an easy dude. Like I get along with most of the people I meet, and I try to see the good in the people that I'm talking to, and like think I'm mostly a lighthearted person, and I just enjoy I enjoy this shit. I just enjoy shit. So
if someone sent you an email like saying, "Hi, my name," I'm making this up because I'm probably being too authentic online lately, so maybe I'll like curb the authenticity a tiny bit. Let me think of something I haven't done wrong. If somebody sent you an email saying, and sounded obnoxious, "Oh my God, Jeff, my name is Lisa, and I've done 3 audiobooks and I'm the best. You have to hire me. I'm perfect. Here's a sample." And the sample is full of like their cat screaming and lots of noise and them making horrible noises. If the same Lisa sends you another email 4 months later, being all humble, having been beaten alive on the social media groups and learning your lesson the hard way. I never did this, you guys. Seriously, this time I didn't do this. But for example, would you think, "Oh my God, that was the Lisa with the ridiculous audio"?
I absolutely would think that was the Lisa with the ridiculous audio, because that would, I would see a little bit of humor in as you described. Like that's just a funny situation. So that would for sure stick with me. But if she improved her situation and the audio was clean and sounded good, I would absolutely look for opportunities to work with her. You hope that everybody's trying to get better and grow, and the equipment a narrator has on day one is not the same equipment that they have 3 years in, unless they just happen to start off from a really fantastic place.
You know what? I love that, because actually that's the side of you never have a second chance to make a first opinion, right? That nobody tells you. But if you improve, people are human and they might give you a chance. I never did bad audio or anything. I did send that embarrassing email to Katie Robitsky, thinking it was Katie, my sister. That one I'll never live down. I'm so fat, oh my God, they're gonna have to carry me out of the flat with a forklift and I'm just gonna become a drunk and give up at this point. But she was very charming about it when I ended up with her at Meet the Producer.
Excellent.
So own our stuff and do better.
Yeah.
Right? What's the time you've screwed up the most in your life? You can't be that easygoing. I'm waiting for a chink here. I'm waiting for when you've kicked yourself and thought,
Sure. This is an event from years ago. I was in my former job. There was a lot of pressure. It wasn't the most supportive work environment. And there was a situation in which I was trying to I don't remember the exact situation, but basically the directors across the board were not doing things they were supposed to do. And one of these directors happened to be a really like a close personal friend of mine. And I had asked like 100 times, can you do this one thing, right? Whatever that one thing was. And he kept not doing it. And I went to our product, I just like, I had it. I went to the production manager.
Do you think it's because he felt like he was your friend and he wasn't taking you seriously? Because
I think that definitely played a role. Yeah, I don't think he saw me as a boss or a manager. He saw me as a friend. And
I made that mistake as a manager a few times.
Blowing it off. And like we were friends before I was a manager. So it was just, it wasn't like wrong to think he's still a friend of mine. We're still good friends. So our production manager at the time was getting on my case because this thing wasn't getting done. And I sent him a text message and I just had it. I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, you got to talk to him yourself. He's just like blowing me off every time. I actually wound up sending that to the director. That was my friend instead of the production manager. And that was like a case of putting my foot in my mouth,
That brings to mind the old, don't say anything behind their back that you wouldn't be happy to say. Exactly. What did your friends say? I mean, you're still friends, so.
Yeah, we got over it. I think that put us in a rough spot, but time heals the wounds.
Did they do better? Did they kind of like shape up after that?
Not so much.
I was reading one of those things about like coworkers. LinkedIn is like full of like businessy people. Obviously, I'm one of those very professional businessy people, but they were talking about like those coworkers that you hate working with the most. And when you get a little uncomfortable, like you start to like recognize yourself. Mm-hmm. Like they treat the office like it's like a party. They decorate things inappropriately. They never wear what they're supposed to wear. They talk a little loud. I was like, oh my God. But that's what I like about our job, because we're talking to imaginary people all day.
Yeah. But that's the truth.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I don't want to take too much of Jeff's time because I've got lots planned for you, because I've got Jeff coming on like a full call, and wait till you see the video for yours. We've gone way more heavy metal this time. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much, Jeff. Jeff logged on first. And to be fair, I was sitting here, you know how the guest logs in 10 minutes before the call, and we were 1 minute before the call. And I was like, Jeff.
There's a funny thing that happened here, because like I keep missing the live ones. Like I just keep missing them. And I just happened to be in a spot tonight where the phone lit up and I was like, I'm just doing some administrative stuff. I'm going to tap in and I'm going to listen to this one. This is interesting, because I love this cup of joe show that you do. It's like, I love it. And that was like the stars aligned, and I just kind of plugged in, and it wasn't super easy because my phone and my work computer are not linked. So I'm like sending stuff between the two, and then boom, here I am.
We were meant to be. And it was serendipity, because I don't think that's the right way to use that word, but I really want to use that word more. And I can't find ways to fit it in the conversation. So it was serendipitous that you happened to log on just in time to save the day. Yeah, I was tempted to do, because we used to do old school Thursday calls, which were fantastic. And basically it was about this number of people, but I won't make you guys do that on camera, because the whole point of that was each person, you're not allowed to introduce yourself or talk about how many books you have or what you've done with your life. You have to like walk in the room as if you're in a coffee shop with old friends. And you just dump out what's forefront of your mind. The husband's driving me crazy, too much noise outside the booth. I don't want to go in and work. I've fallen madly in love, or, I've got this amazing book and I'm so excited about it, and I can't talk about it because I'll piss my friends off. And by the end of the call, I'm not kidding you. It's like magic. It was like magic. Everyone in the group, those are the first calls we started with, 7 of us. And we felt like we'd known each other. Cut out all the other stuff. What do you do for a living? And you know what I mean? Can you get me a job? And And it was lovely, but I won't do that to you because all of a sudden people are going to start logging off, the ones that said they would chat. Okay, thanks so much, Jeff.
You're
I really
welcome. Great
appreciate
talking to you, Daniela.
you saved the day. Johnathan Welsh, you are up. I have a question for you. I'd like to challenge you with something. We all, I think narrators in general, we're all very careful not to act like we have a lot of experience until we feel, you want to earn your stripes. And no matter how many stripes we earn, there's always going to be like a Johnny Heller or a Sean Pratt who's like got 80,000 stripes. And you know what I mean? So we're always very aware that we have a lot to learn, which I think is what makes us great. But I also would like to see us take credit for the things we've learned when we've learned them. So I'd like you to put on your hat, and because you've been doing this, I know you've been on Joe calls for a while, so you're a well-seasoned narrator at this point. So I'd love to, you are, but that's the whole point, because we never think we are. We never think we are, ever. And I kept thinking, oh, when I got such and such books, I would be a well-seasoned narrator. It kind of doesn't happen. Nobody ever gives you the badge. So you've got the badge right now. So I'd love to hear Johnathan's advice. Like, what is your opinion of the best business practice, or the thing you wish you knew the day you started, or the hardest thing to learn, or the easiest thing to learn? Tell me, with your coach's head on, what you've learned for yourself on this journey.
Well, I haven't been doing it that long.
See, but you always say that. How long have you been doing it?
Probably about 18 months.
Yep. So you've got a few lessons under your belt.
Well,
Because
I'm learning. As you know, Daniela, I have Sean Pratt as my coach, and I meet with him once a month, and his sessions are getting more and more challenging.
Yeah, I hear that about I hear that about Sean's.
Yeah, so I'm trying to keep up with it, really. But the thing that I've learned recently, which I found really useful for me, and which I procrastinated for a long time.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I did punch and roll. Once I learned it, it was amazing. It really helped me. So I was 8 to 10 hours for a finished hour, and now down to 4 or 5. And sometimes I keep thinking, did I do this right? Have I done this too quickly? So yeah, well, the business and marketing thing, I'm still getting to grips with all that with Sean. So Sean, he's taking me through that. But yeah, I've had to get onto Twitter, LinkedIn, all the social media platforms.
Are you comfortable with it? Or are you finding the actions a challenge, or the mindset a challenge?
I think it's the whole mindset. I mean, it's Sean pushing me on what I have to do, and I find that challenging, because if I'm in the middle of doing, I've got about a queue of about 5 books with deadlines that I'm in the middle of at the moment, which is fantastic, And
do you hear yourself though? And if you say to someone, I've got a queue of 5 books that I'm doing, and I've been doing this for 18 months. I'm not saying you narrate for 18 months and go out and like hire yourself out as a coach, but you're by no means a newbie. A newbie doesn't have a queue of 5 books in line.
Right. Well, I feel like a newbie, and I feel like I've got a lot to learn. And of course, as audiobook narrators, we learn all the time. There's not a day where suddenly, oh, I know everything and it's all good, because yeah. And I have bad days in that booth and good days. At the moment, I'm having a problem with my nose, which I didn't have a few months ago. And now maybe it's something I've just noticed, but the nose squeak things. I have a problem with that. And so people have been telling me about something I'd never heard of before called neti pots. I
Oh
just don't like
God,
the
I know I've
idea.
heard of those. Do they not sound like old-fashioned torture devices? They do, and they just sound very unattractive. A friend was trying to talk me through it, and she's like, "You do it in the shower," and I'm like, "No, I'm sorry. Some things are just too messy and gross."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the things people don't realize. I mean, they say, "Oh, your voice is your instrument," but they don't realize like what you have to do to like take care of it.
And that's the other thing that I've learned about this, because before I got into this about 18 months ago, people would say, oh, you've got a really deep voice and, your British received pronunciation and you'll do really well in audiobooks. But I soon found out that it's not just the voice, it's everything else that goes with audiobook narrating.
Yeah, and acting.
Yeah, the acting part of it is really, really important. Although at the moment, I'm with Sean, and I said to Sean when I first met him, well, it's non-fiction, I really don't need to act. And he nearly took my head off. No, I know it was a big mistake, yeah, because there is acting in non-fiction, and I realize that now.
Yeah.
And I'm just, at the moment, I'm just enjoying the ride. It's fantastic. I really, really enjoy it. And but I have good days and bad days, and it's lovely to be able to talk to other audiobook narrators and to talk to you, Daniela, when I have times when I'm not feeling particularly confident. And I give you a call, and you come back to me all the time, and it's great. It's just lovely.
Yeah, but you're lovely, and you've been a great member in the Cup of Joe, and you've lifted people's spirits a lot. And I think you're one of those people where if you just show up in the room, you make it a better place to be. So
thank you.
We love having you in Cup of Joe. So
great.
Thank you very much, Johnathan. Thank you for being our spontaneous guest. Who is the next? Joel. Hello, Joel.
Hello.
How is everything at the moment?
It's good. I got the newborn that quite a few people in the community are aware of.
Does it sleep at night?
She's getting better and better, that's for sure. We've got 2 kids now, both under 2. The freshest one was just born on the 31st, for those that don't know. So 7 weeks old now, or so, 7 or 8.
You look very well rested. I don't have kids, so I'm just going by what I see on TV.
Yeah, well, caffeine helps. And yeah, she's getting better at sleep. But yeah, having the 2 kids is definitely more than twice the amount of work. I don't know how that works out. I'm not a math person, so. But yeah.
But the emotional burden, isn't it? Because I've heard that before. There's an emotional load that we discount. We don't think it's a thing, but it is like the worry, the focus, the thinking about it.
Yeah, I think it was Jeff that said this on a Joe call last time. And I'm terrible at remembering quotes, surprisingly, for being an actor, narrator. But it was along the lines of, you can only control what you can control. So if you can't do anything about it right now, maybe don't worry about it. Something, Jeff, I'm pretty sure it was you, Jeff, that said that. If you did say that.
That sounds like vintage Jeff. Did you not, after that call, I tried to channel that attitude. I failed really badly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I beat myself up about failing.
Oh, geez, yeah.
To be calm and mellow about everything.
Yeah. Well, I've kind of always naturally tended towards that direction. Maybe not always, but as I've aged in my many 34 years, I've learned so much. But no, it's practice and just kind of repeatedly doing that and failing, and you kind of fail a little less each time. Well, not every time even. Sometimes you fail worse than the last time.
What about narrating though? What have you taught yourself? What have you taught yourself through your narrating?
Well, I don't know if I've taught myself anything, because I've gotten tons of coaching.
Yeah, but you're alone in that booth.
That's
and
true.
alone and getting yourself into the booth and the discipline and the production and
Okay, yeah, I've taught myself. There's been production things to come along, but I've taught myself after hearing it from other people, but taught myself my own personal tricks with my particular mouth, how to slow down on certain words and phrases, especially where if you try to say it kind of fast, how it would naturally come out when you're trying to narrate at that beginning level, of course, and you get all jumbled and you can't do it, and you get, it's like repeating a word over and over and over again, and eventually that word loses all meaning.
yeah.
So you get to that point where like the word loses meaning, and I've been able to teach myself like, okay, slow down. I recognize that that's happening. Let's slow down. How would I say this naturally in a conversation? All right, now say it a little bit slower than that, and then suddenly I can roll through the phrase a lot more easily, or try a few different inflections to figure out what the author was trying to say with that phrase.
But you taught yourself that. See, right there, that's what I was saying right before I introduced Johnathan. I'm not saying new people should become coaches, because there's some people out there, they're like, give me your money. And I think Johnny Heller did a post the other day, and he's like, don't hire someone as a coach if you've done more work than they have. Probably not a good idea. But I am saying that your first thing was, I've gone to tons of coaches, but the real magic is what you take from all that and then what you teach yourself. When you go, because I remember telling Johnathan 100,000 times, punch and roll is easy, do punch and roll. But until you do it yourself, it doesn't. So that's what you're playing around with your words and the way, and that's, I love that.
Well, I think that's, when you get the coaching, and a lot of coaches will have very similar phrases that they repeat to you. One of the common ones that we've all heard are slow down, of course. But you can hear that and kind of intellectually be like, yeah, of course, slow down. Mm-hmm. But then you don't really absorb that and learn it for yourself until you're in the booth doing it. And not even just in practice. I mean, just actually recording the book, pressing record on the microphone changes the world around you. Your whole perception changes as soon as it's actually recording.
Remember the first time, do you guys remember the first time you ever tried to record an audiobook and you realized you didn't know how to talk?
Yeah.
Like, at all.
Yeah,
it 100%. Went right out your head.
Well, when I got into audiobooks, I was coming from more of a music production side and doing that. So I did a really short book for my first one. It was 20 minutes long. Took me about 20 hours to do, probably, well, actually no, longer than 20 hours. It took me a long time to do this 20-minute book because I didn't know what I was doing. It's hard to talk. And I didn't fully get the concept of I'm an actor. I should do every single voice on the same track, punch and roll. I didn't know what that was at the time. I was using Pro Tools. I was proficient in my DAW, but I had never done punch and roll.
So Pro Tools.
I did every character.
We're Pro Tools buddies.
Oh, you do Pro Tools? Nice.
Yeah,
I don't do it
Pro
now,
Tools.
but I did like it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You moved from Pro Tools.
Yeah, I switched over to Studio One. It was a little more. Well, one, I didn't want to. I got a new computer, and I was running on a really old version of Pro Tools, and I just didn't want to give them any more of my money. So
I just don't want it because the musicians use Pro Tools and all the cool guys. So I kind of think I'm a rock chick because I use Pro Tools, and
it is really important to be cool. That's for sure, Daniela.
Yes, it is. It's a driving force in life.
Well, it is important to feel cool to yourself.
Yes.
External world, that's not so important. But as long as you feel cool, then I think it's great. You do it.
It is a pain though, because you can't get coach. You want somebody to help with your sound, and it's nobody else does Pro Tools.
But you probably know it way better than anyone else coming in. You're probably quite the pro on Pro Tools with audiobooks.
Yeah, you learn the hard way. Yeah, I've got it down pat now. I can do it if I needed to. I mean, I send my books to be edited and proofed, but if I needed to, because when I train, I know they say never, ever, ever edit your own books, but I learned the hard way along with scarcity mindset when I first started narrating.
Yep.
And I spent probably a year of no sleep editing through the night. But now I had an editor not let me down. They had something occur and they couldn't make a deadline. And I'd promised the writer the deadline. Mm-hmm. So I stayed up till 4 a.m. and made it happen. And if I hadn't done my own stuff and didn't know Pro Tools, I couldn't have made that happen. You know what I mean? Plus you listen to your own voice when you
Yeah.
have to edit.
Yeah, I was going to add on to that. I mean, it's valuable in that you know how to do it in an emergency. You can do it. And also, like in that beginning stages, especially, I edited my first few books, even though I knew how to edit, but it was so valuable to listen to myself ad nauseum. And, you hate listening to your voice on a recording for the first few times. Now I'm fine with it. Now I'm like, hey, Joel, he's an all right guy. but
Do you
while,
find now you make funny voices, like just in conversation with people in real life, and they're like,
I don't know that I do, but I walk to and from work every day now, and I definitely talk to myself along the way, try out voices.
I used to do that in theater to memorize lines. So I would tape the other people's lines, and then I would put it on a cassette with spaces for mine. So I was always walking around the streets of London talking to myself. I was probably the resident crazy woman. So
well, in this day and age, everyone has the earbuds in.
Yeah, so they assume you're on the phone.
Yeah.
But so the other thing is, I think when you're narrating and everything, the other thing, people that did edit when they started, and I know in a perfect world, we're saying every new person starts and immediately charges $250 per finished hour and never edits their own stuff, and there's no new person's rate. I know that, but I also know what life looks like when you first start audiobooks, and sometimes you don't make those decisions. And I also remember when you start sending it to editors, the other thing I see people do is freak out because they do their own stuff. So they overdo the perfectionism. They literally edit every single breath. And that when they send it to editors and publishers, they're like, they hate the sound of it because they get a big shock when they see what's left in. And like, it's a 10-hour audiobook. The acting's important, not every, really, you want to listen to someone talk for 10 hours without breathing?
Yeah.
But
well, no. Also you get used to what you know. I mean, so a corollary story from that is like, I got my new booth right here. Love it. It's not
congratulations.
Thanks. It's several months old, but still new enough. But I came from my closet in my condo, which had a certain sound to it, and I was really used to that sound. And it wasn't an amazing sound, but it was a professional sound. It worked and everything. When I got this booth and set it up and started recording and did my test recordings, I was like, it's not right. I don't like it. Something's wrong. I just put a lot of money on this and I don't like the sound. What's going on? So I, booked a session with another acoustic I can't talk.
Acoustic engineer.
Acoustic pro, an engineer, just to like double check my sound. And a couple people listened to it and they're like, sounds awesome. Like this, like top notch. Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, okay. So then I kind of realized over time and comparing, contrasting that, you really get used to what you know. And even if it's objectively better what you're going to, like you just are still so used to what you're used to that it can be hard to break that rhythm.
But I love this. I love this because both you and Johnathan did the same thing. And recently I've noticed that I have a bad habit of doing it as well. You don't want to be arrogant and you don't want to sound like you're someone you're not. So you deflect. So when I said, what are all the things you taught yourself? I haven't taught myself anything. All the coaches taught me. And Johnathan was like, well, I'm really, really new. But the thing is, if you really get down to the nails and the nuts and bolts about it, look at how much you guys, oh, I've learned this. I've learned that. You know what I mean? And that's what I love. I'd love to see us, because especially Jeff's on this call and I forgot to send him another reach out. Hi, Jeff, I'm a narrator in like a few months. So I don't want to like give myself away, but especially when you're sending, reach outs to publishers, I'm trying to remind myself to check that tendency to be, oh, everyone else does everything wonderfully. I'm, so-and-so, like, because listening to Johnathan and Joel, it's like, oh, wow, yeah, that's right. That's brilliant. Do you know what I mean? I think if Johnathan was approaching a publisher with an email, when you feel, and I'm not saying everyone should start approaching publishers until you feel ready, but when you are approaching publishers, you should approach them from the voice of Johnathan, who's, oh my God, I've got 5 books in the queue and look what I've learned this. But seriously, I've got 5 books in the queue. I do nonfiction now. You know, I'm not a veteran, but I'm definitely not a newbie. You know, Joel, you're always very confident. Why are you always so confident?
I'm not actually just confident. I have a resting confident face. I'm really not that confident, but
Are you not? You seem
no.
confident. Are you just an extrovert?
I'm not even, I tend towards the introvert side of the spectrum, but not that far into it. So I don't know, somewhere in the middle, I guess. But I don't know. I try really hard not to let other people's perception of me impact me too much, and just try to focus on like, all right, what do I need and what's going to be good for me? And it doesn't always work, especially like, you know, this is a field with tons of rejection, constant. I mean, I'm on like a real hot streak of declined auditions, even though you don't actually get the declined. Usually, like there's a ton, like, and that weighs on you for sure. But I also
on ACX, are we talking ACX auditions?
Everywhere. I mean, I audition wherever most of us get auditions.
Yeah.
You know, a couple rosters I get and random emails and other places. No, it's funny. I've put out like a bunch of auditions lately, and like nothing, but all the latest jobs I've had have just been like handed to me, which is so weird, like blows my mind. Like, you don't want me to audition? Like, what about these ones I did audition for? They don't count, but then
I'm curious.
Scenario.
The genres, the books, were they exactly the same, the ones handed to you? Did they have anything in common as opposed to the ones you auditioned for?
Let me think about that for a second. Yeah, for the most part, the ones that get handed to me are the children's and YA kind of stuff, which I have done a lot of. That's definitely been the majority of my work, and I like it. And the stuff I'm auditioning for, I'm really putting a heavy focus this year, particularly on science fiction, fantasy, and romance, trying to like really narrow in and have a goal for those. And I feel like my voice fits those nicely. But I mean, so far we're in March, going on April, and I've only gotten some positive reinforcement from that. So I don't know, I might have to pivot from that at some point, but I just know I've done a lot of young adult, middle grades, and children's books.
Well, not pivot from that, find another way in.
Yeah, change angles slightly.
Yeah, find out I remember I went through a phase about 4 months where I just kept getting religious books. And I mean, I'm happy to do them, but my mind is like, really? With my branding and like all the blood and guts and horror books and I was your girl? It's sometimes I think it's trying to tell you something. I wonder. Yeah.
Well, there's so many unknowns as we all go into this, where, I don't necessarily know, like the people who hand me the books, like I don't necessarily know what their thought process, actually, I definitely don't know what their thought process was that led them to me. And so we're kind of all just stabbing in the dark somewhat and taking educated guesses as much as you can, but it's still totally random. It's like, talk about networking at APAC, and the person that you like said hi to, and that's it, offers you a book a month later, and someone who you like meet every year, and you're like, yeah, like this is great, we would get along so well, and you never get to work with them. Like feels totally random.
I'm trying to separate myself from that, though. I'm trying to, because I was thinking about that with social media. We're surrounded by all our colleagues trying to get work, and then what we see every day is them doing what we're supposed to be doing and advertising the work they have. So logically, well, everyone in the world isn't like suddenly sitting there with like publishers begging them to work 24 hours a day. But at any one time, if I sit and look at my workload, I'm so happy with the books I'm doing. But if I'm thinking about the reach out and the career progression, as opposed to thinking about the actual career I have, it's what Michael Kostroff said, sit in the moment of the book you're doing now. Yeah. And I'm trying, because I was so bad for years. I was like, oh, I want that one.
Yeah.
You know, never the one I'm doing now. I want that one.
But then I wonder, like, we kind of have to do that, because if you're not looking ahead, then you're not going to book anything.
I don't think we do, though. I think we have to be like so good at this one, so into it and so good at it. That one's going to come knocking on our door. And I think that we still do the reach outs and the branding, but we just do that as an admin task.
Right.
That isn't our job. I get really annoyed. There's a British expression these people get on my, but I'm not going to use it here because my audience is American. So you know your audience. Plus, it's not very polite. But everyone that keeps saying this is a business, I get that, but you're an artist, right? The business shouldn't be the most important thing. So if you're think about it, Joel, you're doing a book right now?
I am, yeah.
So you're loving your book. You're
it's a really
loving
particularly fun book to do too, yeah.
Right? You're loving it. You're in the minute of it, and you're so excited because you've got all these little tentacles out in the universe for these, like, this genre that you're really excited to start doing more of. And you've got that energy about you. So you're Joel, who easily books all the books he wants, and you're living it, but you're living it and you're working it and you're feeling it and you're improving, because when you're in the booth, you're more relaxed and happy. And do you know what I mean? I think if you bring that, whereas as opposed to, oh my God, I've been recording all day, excuse me. Whereas if you wake up and check Facebook and you see your 20,000 friends and all their successes, and then you think, I have to do this to get the jobs, to get the job, I have to do this. You're a person that has to get a job. You're not a person that has to get a job. You're a busy person that has a great job and tick off the tasks regularly, and you have the job.
But
Johnathan,
is this assuming that your schedule is full?
No, if you have a book, you have the job. If you don't have a book, right, you still have the job, because you could do the public domain book. Oh my God, I've got the cover for Scarlet Letter. It's got to be done, and it's taking me forever because I feel busy. So I keep getting booked because I'm too busy to do the ones I want. See the mindset shift, right? So if I didn't have a book today or tomorrow, I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I've got a week to do a really good public domain book or to do some great demos. I'm never going to get this week again because I know I'm going to be booked out and I'm never going to have a chance again. And once you start sending it to publishers, if you get a space, you let the publishers know, because they have openings last minute. Who knows? You could be the perfect person to save their day. So we never don't have a job. Actors have that excuse. We don't.
You know, I was pretty amazed when I just end of last year was in my life position opened up to where I could focus on just doing this. So I left my day job. And I was pretty amazed because before I came into it, I was still nervous, but I was nervous then, especially like, what am I going to do every day? You know, besides narrating, like, how do you fill a day's work? Now I'm doing it. I'm like, holy crap, there are not enough hours and enough days in the week to do it all. And I'm not even doing a ton of books. Like I should be. I love doing more books.
Really trying to carve out time to brush your teeth every day.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, my husband's like, I think we'll just need to like replace the carpet if you're never gonna vacuum again. It's like, I don't have time.
Same position. That's
but we're artists, the mundane things in life. Joel, thank you so much. I love this because this is fun. Okay, thank you. Now, who do we have next? Okay, so I've got you tagged, but you've asked to be at the end. So I will grab Jennifer. Jennifer, how are you? Oh, wait, unmute, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Do you know that, Jennifer, you're the
Rookie
first
mistake.
person. You gave me the courage I only put the PayPal link up, but you're the first person that ever gave me the courage to even say the word money, like to charge for anything other than an audiobook. Because I have like massive everything's free. I would never, you know, I'm from an Italian family. I'll feed you and your family and your extended network of friends forever. Come over, have pizza. And you were the first person that ever made me actually question. And you did it publicly. So then all my friends heard and they were on my back for like weeks. But thank you very much. You made me
of
step up a
course.
bit.
And I
Jennifer.
have the same mindset in a lot of ways. I mean, when I remember back in the days when everyone had blogs, and like I had a food blog, and I had all these blog friends, and all of a sudden you started seeing ads on blogs. There were no ads on blogs back in the day. And so there
Yeah.
were a lot of us that were like really annoyed with it, like ads. What? Like, my point is just, I understand, like there's this desire to, I'm just giving, like I'm here
Yeah,
to
I'm
share.
a purist. I know the
And-
feeling like these charlatans charging for their writing.
Yeah. So it's just, yeah, but you're doing a lot of work. And if people want to throw a little money at you,
Yeah.
you know, let us do it.
Yeah, I love that. I just had a thought. I'm going to send you guys the chat afterwards. And normally I send it to the guest, but in case you want to like catch up on the chat from the time that you were talking. So Jennifer, in my mind, you're the queen of branding. Your style is
That's
like,
interesting.
oh, I see your style. I see your website and it screams Jennifer, and it's like unique. How long did it take you to get to that? Or did you just always curate everything and have a specific look?
I think it's just, I don't know. And someone else has said something similar to me. And I feel like I struggle with the idea of branding. Maybe it's because I struggle with the idea of branding that maybe it's just, I'm expressing myself naturally and that's working as branding.
That's what branding is.
That's the only,
being your best
so
self in everyone's face.
I hate the word branding. I've always hated it. And
Oh, really?
when people start when people start talking about it, I'm like, it sounds calculated to me. Like I'm not being true. Like I'm making choices about how I'm presenting myself, which I know you're a business. Like we have to make choices.
I hate that. I see. Isn't it funny what triggers us? Every time somebody goes, I know it's a business, I get all like, but branding, I think I was planning my brand when I was 8. Like, I love the idea of a brand. I love it. Like, and you know, the whole advertising, but you have a strong style. Were you like an emo or a goth in school, or were you like a punk rocker or a?
I was very strongly not wanting to categorize myself. So I was always very careful I was definitely a weirdo, but if I would start like being like, oh, do I look like I'm trying to be a goth? Like this is no, I gotta mix it up. So I was I guess in a sense I was image conscious, but it was
I love that.
very, very careful not to
yeah,
exactly.
Joel says, don't box me in.
I did not want to be. Yeah.
I love the people.
And maybe that's why, maybe that's one reason that I don't, maybe that's one reason I sort of have that reaction to the idea of branding. Maybe it's the same kind of thing where I feel like it'll box me in, but
yeah.
Interesting.
But you do it spectacularly. Do you find that you end up getting books that you particularly love because you're so strong, your style is so strong and comes through in everything you do?
I don't know. I mean, I have been getting books that I like, although I don't audition for that many books that I don't like. So, I don't have an answer for that yet. Is my branding affecting the jobs I'm getting? I'm not sure.
What lessons have you taught yourself in the booth, along with our theme here?
Is it a lesson? But I mean, the one thing that only you can teach yourself is how to be confident in what you're doing. And, and I didn't realize that I had passed that hurdle until the first coach that I worked with, Krista Lewis. I hadn't worked with her in a while, and I went back and I did a reading, and she was like, what are you here for? You sound confident. You are telling the story now. And I realized, oh, I am telling the story now. I am confident. Like and no one can teach you that. You have to come to that place yourself.
Doesn't that suck? Because I paid money. I went to Emily Lawrence. Finally, Emily told me, because I kept hiring these coaches going, but I want to be a publisher narrator. And Emily Lawrence sat me down actually quite a few times. It took me a while to get it in my head. And she said, Daniela, but it's the ones you're not working with that you always think, why am I not working with them? And she's like, Daniela, you are working with publishers. That's what it looks like, working with publishers. Do you know what I mean? And I paid over and over because I didn't believe it. And I've paid coaches before. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. That is the biggest mistake and stupidest reason. You can quote me on this. Go to a coach if you have a specific question. Don't go to a coach if you're like, well, I mean, it's better to go to a coach than like your best buddy from high school, right? That's gonna listen to your demo. But if you're like, what am I doing wrong? Check your self-esteem and how you're feeling mindset-wise first, because maybe it's not your narration. Maybe you're just not feeling good about yourself. Because how many times do we pay coaches to make us feel better about ourselves? And the poor coaches, they're like, I just want to teach my craft. Right? And we're like, but am I good? Really? Do you like me?
I just
Johnny
need
Heller
a
said,
confidence boost.
yeah, Johnny Heller said they sometimes they hire a coach and they just want to impress the coach. And it's like, so, but you don't always how do you keep the confidence up?
Oh, I don't, but it comes and goes. But I think that at this point, even when I'm not feeling confident, I just go back to the story. I try to stop thinking about myself. And I guess I don't know if it's confidence, but I trust that I'll be able to do it. I don't always feel it, but I have to trust that it's there. That if I just tell the story, yeah.
I like that. Oh, I'm going to use that for the mindset workshop. Can I steal that from you?
We'll talk.
I'll cut this bit out too.
Yeah, of course you can use it.
I'll give you credit. Because think about it. There's a difference between, how did you say it? There's a difference between feeling it and trusting it.
Yeah.
So you won't always feel it, but as long as you trust it deep down, you're pucka, you're fine. But you won't always feel it. I think we think, if I don't feel great, that's my whole thing. I've got this new system to get me in the booth because it's not worked with exercise yet. But I found, do you ever find yourself, I'll wait till I feel motivated?
It never works. No. I know that well. Yeah. The exercise.
Because I feel like eating big bags of crisps in front of Netflix all the time, forever. I love that. So how long have you been doing this, Jennifer? Because it seems like you've been here forever.
Forever. My first book was released in February of last year. So I sort of think of that as my start date. But I mean, I'd been studying and I sort of pretended like I was going to school when the world shut down. Like many people, I suddenly had nothing to do. And after a couple months, I was like, well, I should think about what I can be doing with all this time. And I started sitting down every day and reading and listening to podcasts and watching all the videos on YouTube and learning about audiobooks. I had my notebooks.
I love that. Gina Davis did that. I love that, because so then you felt like you had a good grounding. Johnathan wants to know what your favorite genre is.
The one that I know that I'm going to reliably enjoy doing is like thriller mystery.
You're my girl.
it's hard for me to pick like a favorite because like right now I'm like, I really want to do some literary fiction. I really want to do memoir. I want to do like sort of weighty nonfiction, but the thrillers are like old reliable. Yeah.
Yeah. Jennifer, you're my favorite kind of person because you and I have the same taste and totally different ways of speaking. So we can enjoy it, but not have to compete for it. You know what I mean? Not a lot
That
of
makes
people
sense.
like
Yeah.
the thrillers. And so I go on and on about it, and they're kind of looking for a happily ever after. And I have no interest in a happily ever after, ever. Like, I love that. So we can help ourselves become the top female thriller narrators in the industry.
Yes.
Yes, I'll do the branding.
Okay. Yeah.
You can be the cool girl.
And if I'm not right, I'll send them to you.
Okay.
And then
And if
you're
I'm not right,
you
I
can send them to
would
me.
definitely send them to you. Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right.
Okay, guys, thank you so much, Jennifer. Now I'm not going to forget about you, Tad, in case that's what you thought, leaving you to the end. Let me see. I just want to make sure. Tad, how you doing? Oh, wait, unmute, please.
All right.
Hello, Tad.
Does that work?
That
Can you
works
hear me?
wonderfully.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I'm here to represent all of the rank amateurs in the world.
No, you're not allowed to say that.
Well, no, I don't have any professional credits to my name. If you want to hear any work that I've done, you have to go to LibriVox.
But how many books have you done with LibriVox?
Well, I've done several dozen chapters. The way LibriVox works, you volunteer for certain chapters of books. Most recently, I've been doing Roman history. So
Very
if you
cool.
want to do anything with Quintus, Quirinius, Titus, Livius, Flavius, whatever,
You're a guy.
I'm your guy for that.
But you're not an amateur. I did Royal National Institute of the Blind when I started, and I said I was a professional.
I had one sort of agreement to do a book on ACX some time ago. I was one of those unfortunate people that I got halfway through a 20-hour. It was a textbook on cognitive behavior therapy. It was absolutely fascinating. And it was very challenging because there were lots of tables and diagrams and lots of things to work through and a million citations. And I got the 10 hours through the 20-hour book, and I got a letter from ACX saying, we're canceling this because the rights holder doesn't actually hold the rights.
That's like our worst nightmare. They tried to do that to my thriller series writer. Somebody stole it. Oh, Tad, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That hasn't put you off.
It was great experience. It was great experience. I mean, that's what I chalked it up to.
Yeah.
But more recently, I actually have reached out to a publisher myself, and I've interested a publisher. There was a series of science fiction books, and there was one title that is just sitting there crying out for an audiobook, and nobody seemed to be interested in doing it. And I happen to know the editor of the series. I met him at a conference and have corresponded with him quite a bit. And I said, look, I'm willing to give this a shot, at my own expense. I'm retired. I should say that. So, I mean, this really is at present is still a hobby for me. So I'm willing to give this a shot. So he wrote to the publisher. The publisher's written to me. I'm going to do a few chapters. If they like what they hear, they'll send me a contract. So
the thing is, I think you'll find, because audiobooks and if you're doing LibriVox, you'll either know this or you'll know it soon. Yeah. You'll either love it so much. Yeah. We're going to see you here in like 6 months, and you'll have like the twitches, and you'll be like, I got to get in the booth. I got to get in the booth. Like we become like obsessed, or I guarantee one way or the other, you're not going to be calling it a hobby in 6 months.
Well, I've put some time into it. I've been working with Pat Fraley as a coach.
I love him. Months. How's his coaching? Yeah. Well, do you do one-on-one?
He's one-on-one. I do exercises. He has like this 5-module course, and I'm on the 5th module now. And And basically there's several exercises in each module, and you record the passage and send it to him. And he writes back and says, I didn't like what you did. Do it again, but think about it this way when you're doing it. So you send it back, and you go through several iterations of that. And he's like, okay, you got it, go on to the next one. He's very concise and very direct and very concrete in the feedback that he gives. So I think it's been very helpful.
I love that.
So, and I've taken some of the courses on Ann Richardson's narrator.life website that I found helpful also.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Yeah.
We interviewed her Tuesday. She's amazing.
Yeah. I missed it because the local gas company, they turned off our gas. They're putting in a new gas main on our street, and they turned off our gas. And they never came by to turn it back on again. So, and the temperature went down to 40s. So they came by the next day just as Ann Richardson was on to turn the gas back on.
Yeah, no, getting heat is a little bit more important. You can catch, we do with the call will come out in 2 weeks. It'll be recorded. It was recorded.
So I have a lifelong interest in audio. My parents got me a little tape recorder when I was 11 years old, and I started doing my own radio plays on this. It's like a little reel-to-reel, 3.5-inch reel-to-reel tape recorder. I had some experience as a radio announcer. I have an MFA in theater, but I will date myself and tell you how old I am when I tell you that was 44 years ago. That I
you know what, Tad? I hate to break it to you. You're one of us. You're not going to get. You're not going to get away with it being a hobby. You're stuck, I think.
And it was the MFA is in playwriting, not in acting. But I did have some coursework, and I have had some experience on stage. So, but my passion for audiobooks goes back about 20 years. I started listening to audiobooks about 20 years ago. And I mean, I have thousands and thousands of audiobooks. And I've listened to about half of them. So, the other half are, for the rest of my retirement.
What's your favorite genre?
Probably classical history and classical literature. And as a matter of fact, I have to say what drove me to Pat Fraley as a coach was his recording of Huckleberry Finn, which I think is a work of absolute genius. And when I saw that he was, he had a coaching available, I said, "Oh my God, the guy who did Huckleberry Finn, I've got to hook up with him."
Because I think when you're a fan, right? I'm listening to a book now, and I'm a fan, and I'm like, "Oh my God." You know what I mean? Sometimes we still get that when you listen to someone, you're like, wow. Yeah, you guys, this has been, actually, I had the most fun. It was more fun than just interviewing a whole person this time. And I really, really appreciate you guys being game for it and joining in. I always wondered what I would do if I lost the guest. And now we know we had a slumber party. So I hope you guys had fun. Thank you for joining in, and thank you for being so much fun and being game. And it was fabulous. You're all brilliant. So bye guys. Mwah. Take care. Bye. Bye.